The country's a lot less free than it used to be, but some states are trying hard to remain American. The biggest of them is Florida. Florida's leaders have managed to protect, for the most part, their constituents' constitutional rights, even during the pandemic, where in a lot of places those rights were canceled. Florida did not go into a total lockdown. Many businesses and beaches stayed open. So what was the result of this? Well, according to our public policy expert, Anthony Fauci, Florida should be leading the country in coronavirus deaths, but that's not true. It's not even close. Florida has performed far better than states that shut down completely and forced people to isolate, states like New York and New Jersey. Last summer, at the height of the pandemic, New York and New Jersey had 5 times the number of coronavirus deaths on a per capita basis, and far more people live in Florida than in New York or New Jersey. New York still has more corona cases per day than Florida does. Today, we've learned it's even worse than we thought in the Northeast. It turns out that New York's governor, Andrew Cuomo, sent more than 9,000 coronavirus patients from hospitals to nursing homes in the early days of the pandemic. Those numbers are almost twice as high as what we thought, twice as high as what officials had reported in New York. According to the New York Post, a top Cuomo aide has admitted this was a cover-up, it was lying, putting out the real numbers he worried would be, quote, used against us by federal prosecutors and Donald Trump. We'll have more on that remarkable story tomorrow. All of this is uncomfortable for our media to talk about for obvious reasons, and not just because CNN literally employs the brother of the governor of New York on TV. And it's not simply because Florida is run by Republicans for the most part. The key point is that Florida proves that people don't need to give up their rights as Americans just because some bureaucrat demands they do, just because some career politician wants more power. Now, at MSNBC, which exists to protect career politicians, there's only one solution to this problem. Florida's leadership needs to be punished immediately.
Republican Governor Ron DeSantis cares more about keeping the state open for business than about keeping people alive. How do you roll out a national plan when you have to go through governors like him? Is there a way that the administration can get around people like Ron DeSantis? Really quickly, though, what do you do with dumb governors? I'm sorry to put it this way, but you have governors like Ron DeSantis who don't care about COVID. What do you do with recalcitrant governors? Republican governors so eager to claw their way to the top of the Trumpian food chain, they've happily picked up his war against science and his lack of respect or reverence for life itself.
The defenders of democracy there. Is there a way we can get around people like Ron DeSantis? People meaning elected officials voted in statewide? In other words, how can the federal government shut down the state of Florida and overthrow its governor? Well, the Biden administration is considering its options, actually. They've come up apparently with a plan to punish Florida and its governor. According to the Miami Herald, and we're quoting, the Biden administration is considering whether to impose domestic travel restrictions, including on Florida. An anonymous White House source explained exactly what's going on here. This is a quote for the ages. Listen, quote, "This is a war, and we're at battle with the virus. War is messy and unpredictable, and all options are on the table." What? All options are on the table? This is war? Who are you talking about? You're talking about American citizens. A rare moment of honesty from an anonymous White House official. No administration has ever suggested doing anything like this. The White House is singling out specific states for punishment. Today, Ron DeSantis made it clear that he knows what is going on here and will resist it.
I think it would be unconstitutional, it would be unwise, and it would be unjust. And if you think about it, restricting the right of our country while allowing illegal aliens to pour across the southern border unmolested would be a ridiculous but very damaging farce. So we will oppose it 100%. It would not be based in science. It would purely be a political attack against the people of Florida.
So the pretext for shutting off Florida from the rest of the country is that there's a mutation of the coronavirus spreading in the state. Okay. That mutation is also spreading in California, the biggest Democratic state, and yet no one in the White House is talking about destroying California or its governor, Gavin Newsom. Instead, they're defending Gavin Newsom from a Democratic recall effort against voters. So Democrats know exactly what this is. It's punishment for the largest Republican state. Last March, when the White House floated a broader lockdown that would affect the Northeast, the governor of New York was apoplectic. He called it, quote, a federal declaration of war. A lockdown is what they did in Wuhan, China, declared the brother of CNN's anchor. We are not in China and we're not in Wuhan. I believe it would be illegal. Well, Tony's actually probably right. But Democrats have changed their view. They have decided we are going to punish this state to which all the taxpayers in our big, failed, ugly, gray, dirty, crime-ridden states are fleeing. These people are the most effective real estate salesmen the state of Florida has ever seen. And they're punishing Florida for it. Marco Rubio represents the state of Florida in the United States Senate. He joins us now. Senator, I have to say, this seems, given what's going on in California, I don't understand the scientific basis for a suggestion like this. It seems very obviously political punishment. How does it strike you?
It's actually quite ironic. The day after Donald Trump imposed the China travel ban, Joe Biden accused him of xenophobia. Then in March, he tweeted out that travel bans against anywhere in the world do not work. But now he wants to impose them on American citizens. You know, tonight, if you arrive at the U.S. southern border with a child, you will be allowed entry to the country. You will be allowed to stay here pending an asylum trial that you may, or hearing that you may never show up for. But if you're now an American citizen living in Florida that wants to travel, they're going to put some form of restriction in your way. I mean, it's clearly unconstitutional. But we should also pass a law here making clear that this is not within the power of an administration to do, that you can't just stand in the way of the ability of Americans to travel freely in their country for something that, by the way, is not supported by the science.
It seems like, A, pretty radical thing to say, B, the kind of thing you might say if you wanted to stoke real conflict, make people really paranoid, make them feel like they're really under attack. Shutting off states from the rest of the country? I mean, why would they even float an idea like that?
Because I think they're trying to punish Florida. I think they're embarrassed by what Florida's done. Florida's embarrassed California. Florida's embarrassed New York. It hosted a Super Bowl with actual people in the stands. The predictions about Florida didn't come true. And they're like, we can't let this stand. We've got to come up with something. I honestly think there's an element of that involves punishment. I really do.
So, I mean, if you look at the state of New York, we're not going to get the numbers for probably another year, but it looks to me very much, checking the real estate numbers, like they're losing their tax base at very high speed for Florida. Absolutely. They must resent that.
Well, not just from that. We've never had people move to Florida from California. They're coming from California. But look at the airlines. The airlines have rerouted a bunch of flights to Florida, to all kinds of communities. People are telling you what they think about what's going on in these states. And it's not just a pandemic, by the way. It's streets that are not livable anymore, garbage that isn't being picked up.
That's right.
Anarchy in the streets. It's more than just a pandemic. The pandemic is terrible, but it has added to all these other schools that aren't open. I mean, there's kids in California that haven't gone to school. I read these tweets about a lot of these kids that were high school football prospects who've lost their whole senior year. I mean, they're just stuck, all wiped out. And on top of that, they had a terrible record on COVID.
So if you mismanage a state so completely that everyone with a job flees, should you get an Emmy? But should you be allowed to force the rest of the country to bail you out? That's what they're going to try and do.
Yeah, and again, those are pre-existing debts. We should not be in the business of saying, well, you were already in trouble to begin with. This is a good opportunity to get you a bunch of money so you can help fund all the mismanagement, all the terrible union contracts you have, all the mess you've made of your cities or your state. That's exactly what they're looking for. This is not about helping a city that needs help. That's one thing. This is let me say their tax base was wiped out by the pandemic. This is about pre-existing debt in the billions of dollars, pension plans that are bankrupting states and cities and counties across the country, and now they view the pandemic as the latest opportunity to get bailed out.
Yeah. Unlike pretty much everyone else in Florida, you're from the state of Florida, so congratulations on that. You were in early.
Yeah.
Senator Rubio, great to see you. Thank you.
Thank you.